What's your name and what's your connection with the Beachhead Collective?
Um, my name's Mary Getlein, and I've been there at the collective from 2010,
And you're still on the
and I'm still
collective
on the
at this
collective.
time.
It's 2015.
What possessed you to come on the collective in the first place?
Jim Smith asked me to,
Aha. Well,
but I came here in 1971, and with no further ambitions than to get to California and get the hell out of the East Coast.
yeah.
And I lived on 17 Ozone, and rent was really cheap. And there was a, now I forget what you call them. My memory's all gone. Where they sell incense and stuff, the right at the end of the street,
Mm.
um, and posters and everything. And they had the Beachhead, and I had gone to school in Richmond, Virginia. That was the last school I was at, and they had alternative papers too. They were all over the U.S. But the Beachhead was really cool. Sometimes it was unreadable, but it was just like fuck the pigs and a lot of stuff I really loved, and
Mm-hmm.
I could really get behind it. But I never thought I would be on the Beachhead. And then in I think it was 2006 I started writing poetry. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
written a couple little poems when I was younger, but I thought they were stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to the church in Ocean Park, and I became under the mentorship of Frances Smith, who, just by watching her, I was like really in awe of her. She was this old lady with a beard, and it turned
She
out
was a
she
poet.
used to live, yeah, she used to live with Charles Bukowski. And she says doesn't matter about forms with poetry, just write what you feel. And she really blew my mind because her poems were like bullets, to your heart or something. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, so I wanted to write like that. So one day I cleaned her apartment, and it was such a god awful mess. I went home and wrote a poem about it, and she goes, it's really messy, and she wouldn't let you use any real good cleaners, so you had to like use baking soda and vinegar, which doesn't really get to it. So I'm like, wow, she's so stubborn in her ways, but that's the way she wants it.
Yeah.
And the whole house was covered with white hair. So I was like, writing it like it's come down from the heavens, all this hair, it's like accumulation of hair, that used to be another color, but now it's white, and it's like snowing in the apartment. And I sent it into the Beachhead, and they printed it like on the front page or something. And it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I was so honored, because when you see something in print, you feel like, yeah, I'm a real fucking poet. When you don't see it in print, you're like, well, yeah, I scribble
Yeah.
and I scrabble, but nobody really sees it. So, and it was what's your old address? 533 Rialto. And I'd always had this vision of people in the Beachhead like being the furry freak brothers. They'd have these long beards, and
Mm-hmm.
they'd be totally stuck in the 60s and smoking bales of weed and everything. So it wasn't quite that extreme when I went in there, but it was pretty funny.
Good.
And I was in the middle of getting evicted from my old place, so I needed anything that would make me laugh and be
Yeah.
happy and not think about my own condition. But yeah, I love the Beachhead.
So, who are some of the other people, or who are some of the other people who are on the collective with you?
Jim Smith, Carl, Abrams,
Mm-hmm.
um, who else? Um, Greta. Um,
Greta Kobar.
yeah, Lydia was on when I came on, and then she left. Like people would leave. Um, oh, Yolanda, right? She was on.
Yolanda Miranda. Mm-hmm.
Miranda, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Erica, I think, was still on.
Ronald.
Ron, Ron came later.
Okay.
I actually brought Ron in, and then who else? Do you remember?
They come and go, don't they?
Yeah, they come and go.
Yeah.
And the first night I went there, everybody was drinking wine, and I was like really into my AA thing, and I wasn't even smoking dope then. But I got back into it with the, ungodly influence of the Beachhead. But then I got back to being sober, and but one night, or it might have been the first night, Greta was getting really ripped, and she grabbed some paper from Jim and ran around the room with it like a little kid. And I'm like, well, this place is really crazy, you know. I'm like, and I was like really loving it. I go, this is really trip, you know. And then Jim was saying something about poetry is not competitive. It shouldn't be a competitive sport. And Greta goes, Jim says poetry is not competitive or whatever, you know. And she was echoing, and you just let her go, and she was like echoing everything you said really sarcastically and funny, and it was just, you know, funny.
We all have our cross to bear.
Yeah, and then we'd settle down and do some work and stuff. But mostly I did poetry, and then I got into the mailing after, Roger was there. And there was like infighting with people, but that happens in a group, you know.
So what was the mailing all about?
Mailing out subscriptions across the country so that people could get the Beachhead. And so nobody wanted to do that. And I liked it because it was kind of mindless. You didn't have to concentrate so hard. And I like doing stuff like that with my hands. So, but I think Roger had to move or something, and he couldn't come and do the mailing anymore. So I ended up with that. And then when Jim announced that he was going to leave, we all kind of fell apart, and we were wondering what was going to happen. But we ended up at the Canal Club, I think, for 2 years. And then they eventually let us know that we weren't welcome there anymore.
Oh, no.
Because we weren't paying rent, and we weren't spending any money there. But I don't think that was it. They just wanted the space back.
Yeah.
It was a big room we were using up for like a couple hours every Monday. And we had to call them, too, to make sure it was all right every week. So that was kind of a pain.
So where do you meet now?
My house.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, so it's like a little party comes over and cheers me up once
That's
a week.
nice. But you don't have to go anywhere.
And I don't have to ride my bike home from the old meeting. I used to have to ride home from Jim's house, and it'd be freezing in the winter, you know. But I like riding at night. It's actually beautiful at night, you know, if it's not too cold. It's beautiful scene, you know, a scene of Venice, like all these beautiful houses, and the neighborhood's a lot better now in a lot of ways. I mean, not price-wise, but just you feel safer here than in the old days. In the old days, it was pretty scary.
So what's the one thing you would say you like the best about the Beachhead?
The friendships that have grown through them, even though they pass really fast. Sometimes people quit in anger, and they can't get over it, so they don't come back. But I get attached to people, and I think the way we try to support each other, you know, like I have a lot of self-doubt sometimes, and people go, no, man, you know, even last night, I'm like, I'm really tense waiting for Greta to call me up to perform, and my daughter goes, go over there and say something to her. So I did, and she goes, you're on the program. And I go, I think you forgot me or whatever. And she goes, no, I was the last poet up there, and I've been waiting for like 4 hours or whatever. And I'm like, really, you know, 2 little poems that it takes you 4 hours to get
Not everybody waited.
Yeah, it was weird, yeah. But
So,
the friendships, I think, and also like opening my head to more political ideas, and also like writing style changes, because I'm not really good at article writing, but
well, you
sometimes
started
I
writing
try.
poetry, and then you expanded.
Yeah,
right?
I did. When I got really pissed off, I would write an article and mail it into Beachhead, and they always printed it.
Yeah.
And I think you have to get really angry before you can really write something good. You know, like a lot of my poems, I've been like really upset or pissed off. I can't find this one poem, but my landlord was on crack. It's just like, that could be a song, right? My landlord's on crack, but he was, and so one time he just raised the whole front yard and left it a mud yard, and I was so mad that I'm like, if I go off on him, it's not going to be good. You know, you can't go off on him. So I left for the day, but before I left, I wrote this poem that was like, you know, that we're human beings. We're not trees that you can chop down. You know, you're chopping down all these trees, and they're connected to us. You know, we love these trees. they've even proven that in some survey that if you live around trees, there's less criminal activity because it's like the trees calm you down,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it just really pissed me off on so many levels. And I was like, you know, it's like, how can people be so stupid? And then I'm like, he's even taking value away from his yard by cutting down all these trees. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
financially suicide or whatever. But yeah, but that poem, I mailed it in. They printed it. It was like really cool. And this one poem I wrote after this woman had been killed, and then her husband like tried to set fire to her body and leave it a pile of ashes, and he got caught. But I was just so fucking pissed off. I wrote another fucking pissed off poem. But there's room, in the paper. That's what it gives people room and space to say something, that's important to them. I think that's really good.
So when you're out and about in Venice, do people talk to you about the Beachhead or
Sometimes,
things you've written?
if
Or
they know it, yeah. Sometimes I used to sit on the bench a lot down there. I haven't been doing that much. But they go by on their bikes and go, "I like your poem."
that's great.
That makes you feel really cool. And it makes the town smaller and like a hometown feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about the Beachhead or the collective? Or?
Oh, I hope we can keep going.
All right.
And the parties are always great. They were great at Jim's house, and now they're great at Beyond Baroque.
Yeah.
That's really great.
This
Fun.
has been Jim Smith talking with Mary Getlein, a current Beachhead Collective member since 2010.
10. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
All right. Thank you.